Hello, and welcome to our program, Where God Weeps In Depth. My name is Mark Riedemann, and through a series of short documentaries, we hope to show you the realities of the work of the Catholic Church in some of the most remote areas all around the world, particularly in those places where, regrettably, she suffers discrimination and persecution. Today we'll be looking at the country of Cambodia. Located in Southeast Asia, it is bordered by Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam, and is home to nearly 17 million people. The country has a rich cultural and religious heritage. Tragically, however, in the 1970s, Cambodia was ravaged by a civil war and genocide, and still today is one of the poorest and least developed countries in the world. The church in Cambodia is tiny, estimated only at around 20,000 faithful, existing in an overwhelmingly Buddhist culture. Although it is small, it is fervent. A witness to this faithfulness is Col Chiang, who became the first Catholic in his village. Let's have a look at his story.
Đâyជាលំបាកមួយសម្រាប់ដែលខ្ញុំជាគ្រីស្ទបរិស័ទម្នាក់ឯងពីមុនពី98ពិបាកមែនតើអ្វីដែលធ្វើឲ្យខ្ញុំស្គាល់ព្រះសហគមន៍កាតូលិកគឺខ្ញុំមានលោកឪពុកសុនមួយបាទមានលោកឪពុកសុនដែលគាត់នៅប្រទេសកាណាដាក្រោយមកគាត់មកសួរសុខទុក្ខសម្រាប់ជីវិតខ្ញុំដែលជាបងប្អូនជីដូនមួយអញ្ចឹងគាត់មកសួរសុខទុក្ខធម្មតាខ្ញុំក៏អត់ដឹងថាគាត់កាតូលិកអីទេខ្ញុំអត់ដឹងទេបាទខ្ញុំក៏ធ្វើដំណើរទៅជាមួយលោកឪពុកសុនទៅផ្សារតូចទៅអង្គុយស្ដាប់តែម្ដងបាទទៅអង្គុយស្ដាប់ក្រោយមកខ្ញុំបានជាខ្ញុំសម្រេចចិត្តថាឲ្យខ្ញុំសូមទទួលការអប់រំជាមួយពីណាហើយខ្ញុំក៏យកពំនាំទទួលការអប់រំពីបងស្រីញ៉ែពីដំណើរជីវិតដើរតាមព្រះយេស៊ូវដល់ឆ្នាំទី4ឆ្នាំ94ឆ្នាំ596ខ្ញុំបានធ្វើជំហានទី1ដល់ពេលសម្រាប់ចាត់ចុងក្រោយដែលធ្វើពិធីបុណ្យជាមួយទឹកហាក់បីដូចជាខ្ញុំយល់ខ្លះអំពីនៅក្នុងជីវិតរបស់ព្រះយេស៊ូវដើម្បីលះបង់អំពីសគត់នៅលើឈើឆ្កាងដើម្បីជួយសង្គ្រោះបងប្អូននៅលើពិភពលោកទាំងមូលអញ្ចឹងខ្ញុំគិតថាសម្រាប់ខ្ញុំក៏អត់មានអីសម្រាប់អស្ចារ្យប៉ុន្តែខ្ញុំគិតថាពេលនោះខ្ញុំទទួលជីវិតថ្មីយើងបង្ហាញអំពីធម៌មេត្តាករុណាដល់បងប្អូនឯទៀតបាទអញ្ចឹងខ្ញុំគិតថាដំណាក់កាលឥឡូវវាដូចជាវាតាំងពីម្នាក់ឥឡូវវាបានទទួលផលផ្លែវាជាមិនទាន់បានបរិបូរណ៍ព្រោះថាចង់ឲ្យបានច្រើនជាងនឹងទៀតបាទចង់ឲ្យបានច្រើនជាងនឹងទៀតប៉ុន្តែជាគំនិតខ្ញុំគិតថាដើម្បីចង់ឲ្យមានទៅថ្ងៃអនាគតដើម្បីឲ្យយើងខ្លាយទៅជាទៅថ្ងៃអនាគតខ្ញុំគិតថាចង់បានបងប្អូនគ្រីស្ទបរិស័ទចង់ឲ្យគេស្គាល់ដើរតាមព្រះយេស៊ូវទាំងអស់គ្នាលុះត្រាណាតែយើងមានមូលដ្ឋាននេះអ្វីដែលយើងមានពីមុនមកវាដិតដាមយើងដូចថាវាបាត់បន្តិចម្ដងយូរទៅយើងអត់មានទៀតទេ
The church in which Col Chiang grew up is one that suffered years of violent persecution. The destruction of everything religious and cultural came with the rise to power of the Marxist dictator Pol Pot. From 1975 to 1979, religion was forbidden. The ban was violently enforced. Following the fall of the Pol Pot regime came 10 years of post-Khmer Rouge Vietnamese communist occupation, under which again no form of religion was permitted. Father Totet, a parish priest, tells us the suffering experienced.
This church was founded by a French missionary in 1881. And this is one of the villages along the river. Most of the people here before were Vietnamese. Many of our churches in Cambodia were destroyed during the war. The military, they were in a helicopter and they were trying to destroy this church. In the walls of this church, there are so many gunshots, but it was not destroyed. During the Pol Pot regime, this church became a very secular place without respect. The stable for the cows also later on became the rice mill. All the traces of holiness were gone in this church. But the people have the good memory, the good example of living together. Vietnamese and Cambodians at that time was the source of the new faith for us. Now, there are about 70 people who are baptized here. After the Khmer regime, when they began to gather again, the members of this community became very active. This place, in a faraway village like this, was the source of so many leaders of the Church of the New Time. We are not able to renovate this church by ourselves. Our daily collection is only about $3. That's generous. We always rely on people outside to be missionaries with us because the donors who give us, I think of them as fellow missionaries. We always have something to give to them. The example of our life, our simplicity, and our suffering. I always tell my people here, no one is so poor that he cannot give, and no one is so rich that he cannot receive.
As Father Totet explains, his humble church today has become a source of renewal and many new vocations. To tell us more about this growth of faith, we're going to hear from Bishop Oliver Schmidhäusler, a French missionary and the Apostolic Vicar of Phnom Penh. He explains some of the challenges the Church faces in her mission to rebuild and to flourish.
When I arrived in Cambodia for the first time, it was in '98, and I was so surprised that the bishop sent me here. Only one Christian in the middle of nothing. I feel that I arrived in the end of the world. No electricity, no water. I focus on education. Until now, we opened 27 kindergartens that is Phnom Penh along the church, and also 15 primary schools for the Vietnamese children who have not access to the public school, and 2 primary schools, 1 high school here, 1 technical high school, 1 university. So education is very important. Pol Pot destroyed all. Religion, value, cooking, everything. Tradition. The people forget everything because everything was killing. And after that, the long time with Vietnamese occupation, after with UNTAC, with no freedom, so it takes time to get up. And this generation is a generation sacrificed, because their children maybe will build the new society, but they have to find this mode. I think the first challenge is the communion, and the communion of all levels. Communion between Khmer and Vietnamese. If the Catholic Church, who preach the gospel of communion, gospel of love, cannot help his own faithful to be one, who can do it? We baptize every year in the Cambodia Church 200 to 300 adults. Now the Phnom Penh Vicariate is 200 missionaries. priests, sisters, lay missionary brothers from 25 nationalities, and only 3 Khmer priests and 3 or 4 Khmer sisters. So we have many foreigners, and we have to help the Catholic, especially the Khmer Catholic, to feel at home and to understand that this church is their own church and they have to take responsibility of their own church.
As Bishop Oliver explains, in order for the church to truly grow, it must be recognized by the Cambodian people as their own. Most Cambodians are Buddhist, and Christianity is seen as something for foreigners. We're going to hear now from Savannah Lee, who shares his experience of becoming part of a religion that is regarded by many of his friends and his family as strange and unfamiliar. What he feels, however, is that he is part of a church that is Khmer, that is Cambodian.
As I was very young, I grew up in a strong Buddhist family. After Pol Pot, my father built a pagoda in my village. And he teach young people to become monks. I remember at night, some young people came to my house and they practice chanting and prepare themselves to become monks. Also, my cousin are Buddhist, and also some friends, they are Buddhist monks. When my mother was died, I stayed with my uncle. He is a Catholic, but that time we don't know he's Catholic because we cannot practice. The time is a difficult time. But we know that he is Catholic because sometimes he come to visit my house and then he talked about the gospel. Step by step, we start talk about Jesus, study about Bible. So I become a Catholic. For me, to be a Catholic is a little bit difficult. They said we are Cambodian, we are Khmer, we have a Buddhist. Why you are change your religion? You are not Cambodian anymore. You are Cholsa. It means you are with the foreigner. After Pol Pot, we are very few. Because many were killed and also many Catholics were expelled and live abroad. But a church started again. As a Catholic, new generation, we feel that we proud to be a witness of Jesus, to tell the truth to the others. And very important that we send to the church. Most of the time they considering about the young people. So it is really important that church have to continue to care about family, about new generation, especially for new families.
As Savannah Lee shares, for Catholics, the Church is Khmer. This is especially important as during Pol Pot's rule, everything related to Khmer culture was violently suppressed and destroyed. Bishop Oliver explains how the Catholic Church is playing an important part in resurrecting and preserving the Khmer culture, and how she is evangelizing through the arts.
The Cambodian people have arts in their blood. It's very natural, from the children, the adults, to dance, to sing. It's like a natural way. We are living about 500 kilometers from Siem Reap and Angkor Wat. In the biome there are 4 faces. One is for compassion, one is joy, one is charity, and one is suffering. I think that is meaningful also for us. We have to be a witness of joy, compassion, and charity. When I arrived here, it was Christmas time. I see that it will be nice just to have a performance of nativity. The people, they are very impressed to see the way that we can perform. And I see that it was a time to have a big stage and to start what I say, evangelization through arts. We have the history of Adam and Eva, Cain, Abel, and we translate the Bible with the Khmer word that we can use for the theater. The people come here and they see that we respect the culture. Many of them, they are Buddhist, but step by step they can understand the meaning of the gospel. So I see that is a way also to make young people more confident and also to establish our big family in the church. In Cambodian language, you have this word, yol chet knir, understand the heart each other. Step by step, we can understand that arts, evangelization, respect of the culture can make understand each other.
Samean is a musician whose dream it is to inspire young people to recognize the value and richness of their Khmer culture. He explains how he'd like his art to communicate hope and to lead people to Christ.
When our bishop noticed in me a passion for music, he gave me the task of conducting arts classes for a Catholic community. I am a Khmer who loves art, especially ancient Angkorian art. The bishop's attitude has helped me to have a greater love for art. As a Khmer, I can use my talents to spread interest and love for Khmer culture among Khmer students. That's why I'm happy as a child with the work that I do. Today's youth do not know and do not share interest in traditional ancient culture. This makes the Catholic school an opportunity to show them their own heritage. I got to know the Catholic Church through doing something for the poor. I saw them actively helping the needy and hungry, especially the homeless. I once walked into a church and I heard people praying for health and peace in the world, it touched me deeply, and I liked it very much. Their humility and modesty made a great impression on me. At the moment, I am working on developing my musical skills, and I hope one day to release my own album. I have already written several songs in which I describe my own life. I write for the greater glory of God. I would like people who listen to this music to come closer to God and towards Christ, who is the light and who gives strength to those who lose hope. He lifts up those who are mired in sorrow and hopelessness.
Samean, like many of the others we've heard from today in our program, was the first Catholic in his family. It is through evangelization, the sharing of the good news, that the seeds of faith are sown and the church begins to grow. It is, however, not an easy task. Many challenges confront the church, notably government restrictions limiting freedom of speech and the ever-present lack of financial means. Despite this, young faithful are drawn to the new communications tool to share the gospel. Savannah Lee, director of the National Office for Catholic Social Communication, explains his vocation and the challenges to his mission.
I love storytelling, and then also happy to share with others. Every time when we have a catechist class, my cousin always asks me to tell a story. I'll use it to the other kid. When I start my university, I thought I want to become a journalist. When I finished, one priest said, they will establish a communication center. So I volunteered to be a writer, as a reporter. I'm director of the Catholic National Office for Social Communication. Step by step, the society grow up and new technology also develop. It's more easy to reach people. Immediately they know because we are live on Facebook, on social media. To send the message of good news, we have to be on social media to communicate with the young people also. We have to tell everything what we saw, what we heard, to the people. So I think it's not just only telling the gospel, but telling the daily life of people. This is like a gift from the beginning of storyteller. I never expect that I will come to work here, but step by step and time by time, that this is what the willing of God that called me to do. That's why I commit myself to live as what He's willing and pray every time to do what He wants. We offer what we can do because God gives us so much. We are not rich in property, we don't have much money, but we are rich in spiritual life. We got teaching every day, we got love from each other, from our community.
As Savannah Lee shares, communication is about stories, and in Cambodia, stories of God's love for His faithful abound. One such story is that of how a Buddhist fisherman and his wife came to know the Lord.
Ngày 8 ខែ 11 ហ្នឹង ខ្ញុំដេកដឹងស្មានណាទេប៉ុន្តែ ផ្ទះយេស៊ូមកព្រះយេស៊ូមករំលឹកហៅខ្ញុំទៅឲ្យទៅតាមគាត់ឡើងទៅគាត់ឲ្យឃើញក្នុងយល់សពខ្ញុំតាមគាត់មកកន្លែងហ្នឹងឃើញមែនឃើញរូបព្រះម៉ែម៉ារីអាហ្នឹងរៀងស្អាតទៅមកស្អាតទៅយកទៅដល់ពហិហ្នឹងមកពី10គាត់ណាទៅរកព្រះយេស៊ូវការទៅយប់មិញយល់សពហ្នឹងមកជួបគេមកមុនគេជួយរុញទៅដែរគេមកមុនបានខ្ញុំសួរគេសួរតើរកប្រមាណ3រកចម្លាក់ទូចហ្នឹងខាងអូនឯងខាងយេស៊ូវខ្លួនអូនឯងដឹងមិនបានវានេះវាឆ្លើយជាមួយខ្ញុំវាថានឹងហើយព្រះយេស៊ូវកាត់ខ្ញុំលើអញ្ចឹងអរពេកទាំងបានរកប្រមាណទៀតអញយកទៅដល់ពហិឥឡូវអញទៅផ្ទះហើយអញស្មានបានចង់បានស្អីជាមួយឥឡូវពីមុនគាត់ដើររួចណាដើររត់បើមិនតាមគាត់ចាប់វិញរត់រត់ទាំងជំងឺទុនដៃទុនជើងគឺមែនតើហ្មងកាលពីស្រង់ទៅឥឡូវឡើងហើយខ្ញុំថ្ងៃណាគាត់ទៅអកឋាននៅកន្លែងព្រះម៉ែបនស្រន់សុំរាល់ថ្ងៃគាត់ជាហើយឥឡូវខ្ញុំតាមទស្សនាកាតូលិកនឹង3ឆ្នាំពីមុនខាងគាត់បានខ្ញុំតាម
In this program, we've tried to show the living faith of the Catholic Church in Cambodia. Though a minority, she is very much alive and active. Her respect for the Khmer culture and the dignity of the human person, together with the zeal of her followers to share the gospel. The church in Cambodia is like the parable of the mustard seed, a small grain which, with time, grows and spreads its branches to become a shelter for all. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having been with us today in our program, Where God Weeps in Depth. And if you'd like to know more about the situation of Catholics in this country, the work of the Catholic Church, or perhaps how you might be able to help, I would encourage you to look at the contact information at the end of this program. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.